Hi, this is Hank reporting from Kyiv, and this is my update on Russian-Ukrainian war. Let's see what happened around Ukraine in the last 24 hours. Breaking: Az0v will have Western weapons. Battleship Barbecue. Ghost tank. It's not about the money, it's about sending the message. This is actually huge news. As stated in official statements, the 12th Special Forces Brigade Az0v has passed a thorough check by the US State Department. Now we are all waiting for Az0v to finally receive a new type of weaponry and be able to fight even more effectively rather than buy armored vehicles with the money of volunteers with a huge delay that costs lives. I will leave a link to the Washington Post article, and here I'll say a little from myself. Brief history: in 2014, when Russia began trying to take over the southeast of Ukraine with the help of recruited local traitors and Russian outcasts, they acted carelessly and not very effectively, but they succeeded in some way. In my native Mariupol, the separatists who so wanted to give the city to the Russians fenced off the city council building and several other buildings. They built barricades, pulled tires, and gathered outcasts in masks with batons who blocked the state institution. The police didn't do anything as if this was normal, and we civilians watched this as if it were a strange circus act, but to be honest, we didn't know what to do with them. Then Ukrainian volunteers gathered forces and knocked out terrorists. Some were arrested, several people were killed. Mariupol completely returned to state control. Then the anti-terrorist operation, ATO, began, and Az0v fighters were among those who most actively took part in the defense of their homeland. My personal impression is that until 2022 I didn't personally know anyone from Az0v, and for me they were hardcore warriors, and all my life I avoided communication with the military. With the beginning of a full-scale invasion, everything changed, and now I know many people associated with this unit, and I also talked with Az0v fighters who went through all the battles in Mariupol, the defense of Azovstal, Russian captivity, and were eventually released under the prisoner of a war exchange program. At the moment, about 1,000 Az0v fighters are captured, and Russians do not give them up for exchange because Az0v has special value for them. For 10 years, Russians have demonized this unit, and we have heard all the possible legends from that Az0v allegedly crucify our own Ukrainian children alive to the fact that they are Nazis and worship Satan. My personal experience: I know people from the Az0v Brigade with education, decent and worthy people. I know people of the Muslim faith who serve or served in Az0v. I know women from this unit. All these people inspire me with the respect for their principles, love to their homeland, and life values. It's because of this that I had to read a lot to find out the differences between healthy nationalism, Nazism, and fascism that Russians shout so loudly about. So this is what I understood in brief. Healthy Ukrainian nationalism is, first of all, love to our country and culture, loyalty to traditions, and then rage towards enemies. In the opposite version, in Nazism, the greatness of one's own race primarily prevails over others. First, they are above all those unworthy to live on the same level with them, and then some kind of love for their culture follows. Fascism, in addition to being based on Nazism, also actively destroys other peoples. I saw nothing in common with this in any of the people associated with Az0v. Their first place is love to their people, for their brothers. By the way, Az0v fighters address each other as friend plus call sign. In this photo you see Tetyana Teplyuk with the call sign friend Godmother on the right. She's a servicewoman of the Az0v Brigade. At 71, she was captured by Russia after leaving Azovstal when they captured Mariupol. I took this photo in Kyiv at a demonstration in support of prisoners of war who are still in Russian prisons. Just look how sweet she is. I will leave an interview with her under the video. You can put it in the translator if you're interested, or write and I'll translate and review this. After the investigation, Japan removed Az0v from the list of dangerous organizations where they were included due to Russian propaganda. A month ago, representatives of the Az0v Brigade spoke in the British Parliament. I mentioned this in my previous video, and now the United States has officially recognized the historical injustice. Time puts everything in its place. Let Az0v receive powerful weapons, they paid for it with blood. In the Barents Sea, which is located in the north, Thousands of kilometers from Ukraine, the Russian warship Admiral Lepchenko caught fire during exercises that Russia is conducting to scare the whole world with its military powers, so to speak. Why is this funny? Firstly, the name. Admiral Lepchenko's surname is definitely Ukrainian. All surnames that end with Yenko are Ukrainian, as are all surnames ending with Z, Georgian, Yan, Armenian, and so on. Wikipedia says that he was born in Ukraine. Everything fits. Secondly, the engines of this ship were serviced in the Ukrainian city of Mykolaiv in the south, which Russia so diligently destroys with its missiles. It's funny and sad that Russia has so many connections in Ukraine, owes so much to our talented designers, and at the same time it's so diligently destroying us. If this is not so, then why couldn't they organize their production of these engines or ships or at least anything significant in 30 years? I have no words. I hope the vessel sinks completely. Atesh are Ukrainian partisans who operate throughout the territory occupied by Russian invaders, especially in Crimea and the south of the country. Here is a photograph of Russian military equipment taken while moving around my native Mariupol, which is now under occupation. Some of them ended up serving in the Russian army in order to transmit secret information to us. Some track strategically important objects such as air defense systems in Crimea. Naturally, an expensive and dangerous missile must be aimed precisely at the target, so Atesh and other units obtain valuable data for our intelligence. Sounds like a real spy movie. It's so strange to see photos of my hometown in such context. Previously, I could have come to this bus stop and take the same photo of my smartphone, but now this is a secret information. So Atesh agents report that Russian military from the air defense units received an order to take their families out of the territory of occupied Crimea. We'll be able to check this information only after a while, when we see the dynamics, but the hint itself is already pleasant. Let this be true, please. Let them flee from our land. For many years, Putin's propaganda has been feeding its taxpayers with fairy tales about the T-14 Armata super tank, which they like to make the Pentagon tremble. In reality, not a single unit was seen on the battlefield, only once at a parade in Moscow and passed by, which stalled and had to be towed. You can see it in the photo. I found photos of a 3D model of a part of the hull and turret of this craft. People calling themselves experts call this a tank for war of the previous generation and give the following description. The protection of the crew compartment on top is weak, made of the level of the 80s of the last century. The protection of the weapons compartment on top is also minimal. A huge unused compartment in the center of the weapons compartment. Huge, the size and weight of the engine and transmission is about 5 tons. I don't know anything about tanks, but it looks like the Russians, as usual, remade all developments in a new way, stole billions of budget money and tried to tell everyone that they are now ahead of the planet with their non-existent tank. If you think that I'm wrong and I'm simply scolding them in vain, then give me arguments why they are not deceitful and hypocritical. I love facts, no matter how bitter they may be. Ukrainian intelligence revealed details of the operation on June 5 when drones hit the Novoshakhtinsk oil refinery in Russia. In this photo you can see how brightly it burns. Only 1.5 million tons of oil burned this way, or $550 million. It's the same thing, by the way. I have two feelings. Firstly, I'm glad that now Russians will not be able to fill tanks and other equipment with 1.5 million tons of fuel or so. Secondly, I feel damn sorry for the environment, which receives an incredible amount of harmful emissions due to this fire and, in general, because of the number of tanks that burn tons of diesel every day. We must win this war as soon as possible so that the planet stops suffering due to madness Putin started. It turned out to be more interesting than I thought. Looking for news about Russian military-industrial complex, secret drawings of tanks, reading about the details of special intelligence operations. I can say that I enjoy all this because I hate war. I want the world to consolidate and for us all to force Russia to stop fighting, threatening everyone around, destroying people and nature. Go to your vast territory, build schools and hospitals, raise your children, stop trying to destroy life in Ukraine, create life. This was my update about the Russian-Ukrainian war for day number 838. Thanks to everyone who supports us in any way. Take care and see you tomorrow.